For March the 20th, 2020, we talk about Death Stranding, Bury Me My Love, and the global Ring Fit adventure shortage. Welcome to Level 321. My name is Kole Ross.
My name's David Maismith.
I'm Jala Prendez.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Hey guys, anything in the news?
I think it's been a dull week, actually.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, I've been feeling pretty good for a while, and I had a lot of things I was anxious about, but everything's looking up. Just let me go to CNN. Oh no! Oh no!
I saw this on Reddit yesterday, but apparently they have a Big Brother in Germany, like the TV show, and they haven't told the contestants that all of this is happening yet. So there are some people in the world that don't know about this.
Oh my
Wow.
god! Wow. That, I mean, like, assuming the production staff stays in, that they're already quarantined, so they'll probably be fine. Yeah. So.
Because of that, though, the Arnold Classic that I was going to was canceled like last minute, right before it happened, because there was a big petition and everything. It's just like, I still went to Columbus anyway. And like the reason why is because that was before everything hit the fan. And then all of the quarantines and stuff started happening. So like I ended up going to dinner with you, Kole, and with
Mm-hmm.
And I went on some distillery tours. I went to Middle West Distillery, which is really good. And it was like the only place I've ever gone to on one of those tours that I actually liked literally everything that I tried, which is amazing because there was like vodka, which I don't really like, and gin, which I don't really like, and various other things. And like, I just liked every single thing I had.
I was real disappointed because I went out like that Monday or something like that. Shortly after our visit, I went out to get some liquor, and I was looking for anything from that distillery. Like I was going up and down the shelves just with their website pulled up because I wanted it. Basically everything you described sounded like it was really good. But the closest liquor store to me, which is 20 minutes away, did not
didn't have it.
Yeah, didn't have it. So blah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, well, they also don't sell in Texas. So, like, Dave and I bought some, but he drove in from another state. And so he drove back with all the liquor. So I have to go visit him once the quarantine is over to have the liquor. But luckily it's stores. So that's okay. No,
it was really fun having dinner with you guys. You also you went to OSR, right?
A haunted, dilapidated prison. Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
And I saw your dad. Oh my goodness!
Did he give you a tour, or was he just kind of around? Like you sent a picture.
He was doing a tour.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. No, that was funny.
Yeah. So. But yeah, it was fun though because I got to go wander around in Columbus, and they have a lot of vegan restaurants over there. So I actually got to try a bunch of different places, and I loved all the different places that I went to for the most part. So definitely now I know places that I want to go when I go back next year because I didn't get to actually go to the Arnold this year.
Yeah.
So next year
just a dry
when I go,
run. It was a dry run.
Yeah, for sure. I was just feeling things out. I was scouting. Ahead, so yeah. So what's up with you guys?
And I'll let you. So it's just Hey Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I was saying this before the recording. I had made some Corona buddies over the weekend. So my friends who live out in Duval, which is like maybe an hour northeast of where I'm at, came and picked me up on Saturday, and I hung out at their house for a couple of days, and we stayed inside the entire time. We watched Die Hard, drank a lot of tea and stuff like that. So it's pretty chill, but
nice.
Yeah, but it was nice to have socialization, I guess is the main point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, just weird changes in life and whatever, and we'll see how this goes for the next month. But yeah, I'm doing okay. I've been exercising inside, so that's good.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've been taking walks outside, because I just live in a neighborhood. Like, there's nobody really out. I mean, yeah, it just, man, the things that you don't think about, the things that you did, like the things you take for granted.
It's a little, it's weird. It's I just feel blessed that I'm not like a crazy extroverted person, because I feel like I'd be climbing up the walls like right now if that were the case.
Yes, man.
Well, because stuff in my life, like listeners already know, this stuff in my life blows up with such great frequency that like I take everything with a pretty good amount of grace. So like they're like quarantine, and I'm like, okay. All right.
Yeah, cool.
So all right, this is my life. That's fine. I'll find stuff to do. And so like I've got a whole list of stuff I'm working on. I've got like a whole list of different plans of what I'm going to be doing with my time and all that mess. And just I'm like, okay, it's cool. All right. So
how about you, David?
Yeah,
Bobbing and weaving.
Bobbing and weaving, exactly. New York is slowly locking down. So right now, I feel like I'm the dude from what was that 2D Silent Hill game, like Soul Survivor.
Lone
or
Survivor,
something.
yeah.
Lone Survivor, where it starts out is like, I've been in my apartment for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Child's play.
Just the Bane speech about being born in the darkness.
yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez. I mean, like, are you able to like go out and get the things that you need, or is it like?
Yeah. I mean, there's no official like legal curfew, or at least fairly minimal.
It's not gone like full Bay Area there yet. And like we're recording this on Monday night, so by the time this comes out, who knows? Just so people are aware of the time shift here.
Right, exactly. And it's basically the grocery stores are pretty dramatically, just bought out. Pretty much all of the meat and pre-made food, microwave food, a lot of the produce, all of the spaghetti sauce and peanut butter. I mean, it's much more than I've ever seen in terms of people stocking up. So that's I mean, luckily my job, I can pretty much just work from home and it's no problem.
Has your office instituted that, or is it?
Yeah. So we're on like basically mandatory. Like, I don't know if they would necessarily stop me if I like overtly, like tried to go to work or so, like in the office. But in effect, it's mandatory.
Yeah.
Well, who would be there to tell you no?
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Oh, man.
On the bright side, it's like a good time to play some video games.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I mentioned before the episode when I was talking to people, now with New York under quarantine, I've a lot of time to get on the Division 2 and run around New York under quarantine.
Oh man, it's funny because like everybody is talking, like just looking on Twitter, everybody is like, oh my gosh, I've got all this extra time, I'm home now, and like in my head, even though my actual like nothing has really materially changed for me, like I'm spending more time in the house just because I'm not going to basically I had instituted like a regime of running errands every day in order to get out, just like get out of the house and not.
Yeah.
Because less of my own devices, I would just stay in, or at least stay on my property, right? Yeah. But like now I'm not doing that. I'm not going to see my family anymore, really. Like, I'm just, talking to them on FaceTime and stuff like that. But like in reality, I'm still doing everything that I was doing because I like, my job doesn't change. My work doesn't change, and everybody is like, oh my gosh, I have so much time now. And I think, yeah, I've got time now too. And then no, I fucking don't.
See, I'm just imagining you stoically saying, podcasting never changes.
Kind of. Like we started for patrons doing the Dark Souls randomizer run, but like that was like we agreed to do that before everybody was locked down. So like, yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to just make it a point to say, right now especially, I know everybody's under a lot of stress, but it is really important to take some of that extra time that people are finding that they have for self-care. Mm-hmm. For trying to get a little bit more rest at night, try to get some actual sleep, maybe try guided meditation, maybe do a little bit of stretching, or, there's all different kinds of fitness things you can do to get a little bit of exercise, because that helps so much when it comes to combating any kind of illness or any kind of stressful stuff. Yeah. And then food is a very big trick right now, but trying to at least not bomb yourself into like the worst eating habits ever, like that'll help you feel better in the long run, because, you might comfort eat, but then later on you feel way worse after that.
Yeah. And also if you're comfort eating, you're going to blow through all that very quickly, like actual good, healthy meals portioned out, like, that'll last longer.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was saying, not to undercut that point, if any of the listeners need food, I will gladly get like a pizza or something for anyone who's listening. So
yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But so anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, because that's something that trying to be mindful of yourself and how you're feeling, and like it's okay to let yourself, feel your feelings and grieve and whatever, because it really is a situation where you're kind of grieving for a lifestyle that's suddenly altered under your feet, just been pulled out from under you. Like, let yourself feel your feelings, and then, try to take care of yourself as best you can, because that is your best way to, get through this. And, also, if you live with people and you happen to be freaking out, you are going to confer that onto them and stress them out as well. So like, it's just kind of better for everybody. So if any listeners out there are interested in, getting some suggestions on what kinds of things you can do for a workout, or a mindfulness routine, some kind of way to de-stress, or any of that type of stuff, feel free to hit me up at Jala-chan in all the places, and I would be happy to give you some references and some ideas.
Yeah. Additionally, like if you're not, I put a thread about this on Twitter. It'll probably be drowned out in my angry rantings about the federal response. But like the big thing is, if you are not used to working from home, the worst thing you can do is to give up any semblance of a routine. So like wake up at a regular time, be sure that you take a shower and get dressed. Things like that, just very basic things. And if you have any kind of commute at all, you're going to find yourself with more time to do those self-care things, even if it is, at the start there, like playing a little bit more of a video game or reading something before you get to work. What you don't want to do is sleep until it's time to work and then roll out of bed at 9 o'clock or whenever you need to start, or whenever your first meeting is, and then just kind of flop. That is terrible for it. All kinds of health is what I have found in the past, as somebody who lives the work from home lifestyle and has for several years now. Yeah. Huh. So I think we've got, other than the pro tips, I think we've got the regular kind of show for you. So why don't we get started with? We're gonna do the grind. We're gonna do the multiplayer. Then we're gonna round it out with the end boss. And why don't we get started with
the grind?
The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Jala, I'm going to throw to you first.
Yay! Okay, so guys, I finally returned to Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age.
You did.
I did. So I had no idea where I left off because I don't remember when I played it last. I guess it was sometime last year.
You were still really early on. I don't know if you had gotten out of Rabanastra or.
Oh no, I wasn't that far back. I was looking for some kind of a sword.
Oh right, yeah. Okay.
So then I'm currently at a point when I have to grind right after fighting Sid because the enemies are really strong in this area. And I'm like, great. And I didn't want to grind, so I kind of stopped that and played something else instead. So I don't really have much to say about that. I played some more of it, and now I'm at a point where I have to grind, and we all know how I feel about grinding for the most part, so I don't know. I don't know when I might go back to that. I don't know if I will find my Zen time with that or if that's going to be the end of my time with Final Fantasy XII. I'm going to attempt to get through it because apparently of all the people that I know, there's only like you, Kole, and maybe like one other person that has finished this game.
Yeah, I don't know like where the joke, oh, nobody's finished that game came from. It's like a 50-hour JRPG. It's like eminently manageable.
It is manageable. Like I'm 30 something, 36 hours in or something like that. So yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty good chunk of the way into the game, and I haven't been doing like hunts or anything like that. I think I did like 2.
Yeah, there's so much optional content in that game that you can get lost in if you want to, but it is by no means necessary.
And I'm not. You know, like I was having a conversation with Mai in the Slack about it, but, you know, like I usually kind of limit how much I mess with those optional systems because if I do, it'll turn into what is essentially an open world game for me and I'll never finish the main quest. So I don't want to do that. So I just do not really engage with all those extra systems so much. But anyway, so I'll move on.
Okay.
Another thing I played, Wildermyth. I posted it to the internet. I said, guys, what do you want me to play? And I gave them 3 options. I could continue Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, I could play Wildermyth, or I could play Dream Daddy. I thought Dream Daddy was going to be like totally the thing people wanted to see me play because that would be very funny, I think, on stream. But no.
Given the ambient horniness, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, just because I make comments about things and I giggle quite a bit. So, like, it's just very funny for me, you know, to do that thing. But no.
Well, and my understanding is, like, Dream Daddy is a relative, like, you know, for as much as this played for lol internet daddy kind of stuff, like, it's also just kind of a pretty straightforward dating sim, too.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I have no idea. I just picked it up because I think it was on sale, and I actually used the credit from that to get that game. So anyway, so that's how I ended up with Dream Daddy, but it's on my computer now, so eventually I'll play it. I don't know, it'll be probably 2 years before I get to it because yeah. But anyway, I did play Wildermyth though. That was the one that won. So Wildermyth is something I talked about previously when I got back from PAX South. But I will remind listeners that it is a character-driven, procedurally generated tactical RPG by World Walker Games. So I streamed this on Saturday afternoon for a couple of hours, and so I started up a fresh quest, and I ended up with 4 heroes, and one of them got critically wounded in battle. I found out that you can decide what happens to people when they are critically wounded in battle. They can die and give a boon to everybody else that's still alive, or they can die and leave their gear for them, or they can survive and just like need to go heal up and recover and stuff, right? So I chose survival because I only had 4 people. But when I saw him next in his chapter, like his character portrait was missing a leg, and I didn't anticipate that because usually, you know, like a character heals up and then they come back and it's all the same as it was before. So I burst. I like unintentionally burst out laughing because I was just like, oh my god, because like they just have him standing standing there on one leg, like the exact same posture, but standing on one leg. And I'm like, he's missing a leg. What? You know, and then from then on, like now he's got a peg leg. And I mean, like, he's a badass warrior, but he's got a peg leg. So cool.
See, normally they go with the anime, bandages around your midsection cure all wounds.
Right. Well, so that said, once I discovered that, I found out also your characters age and they transform and they fall in love and they disagree and they make sacrifices and stuff. And you can actually, from game to game, even though it's all procedurally generated, you can preserve your favorite characters and reintroduce them to your next adventure, like basically port them over, and then they get scaled down to whatever, like for that campaign, the new campaign. So that's cool. So I'll tell a little bit more about the technical stuff, because the last time I talked about it in brief, I didn't really have that much to say about like the technical aspects, because I didn't play very much at PAX South. So on the main overworld map, you have different regions that you control and can fortify against attack. Sometimes you have recruitment opportunities, like it'll just pop up with a little flag and you can go and get some new hires. Your goal is to expand across the map and clear the land of all monsters. So while you're patrolling and building fortifications, scouting new terrain, and building new passes and roads so you can get to new areas, there are a couple of different counters going off on the screen. One of them is for monster incursions of one of your provinces, and one is for calamities, which includes strengthening of the monsters in play on the board currently, or introduction of new, more dangerous monsters.
Okay.
So
that sounds like Into the Breach.
So you also get legacy points that you can use to negate some of these events. And I only just found out via research on the internet that you can also use them to recruit new party members and build stations, but I'm not actually sure how you accrue them. Google says that you get them from winning fights, but I seem to get the same amount of points regardless of how many fights I'm doing at any given time. So I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's like per character, because I have 4 characters and I have 4 legacy points. I don't know if that's how that works, but anyway, that is still a mystery to me. I am still learning about that.
Yeah.
So, as for combat, though, so combat events can occur. There's different types. There's assaulting a new area, which is you going to a new province and trying to clear it of monsters. There's defense against a monster incursion on one of your territories. There's an ambush when you have 3 or fewer heroes in a territory that's been infested by monsters, but not overtaken quite yet. You can also retake the station when it is overrun. And then sometimes there's different events that happen, probably through the calamities and things that include the heroes being thrown into other unexpected battles. So, during combat, characters confer bonuses to each other by fighting side by side, and characters who are in love confer extra bonuses to each other.
That's like a Fire Emblem thing.
Yeah, so like that's also in Shining Force. So like that's the thing where it's like, it's actually beneficial to you to use that to your advantage there.
Nice.
And you can also engage in different tactics like walling or flanking to provide combat incentives. And fortifying one of the regions against attack gives you extra bonuses in combat when an incursion happens. You can build barricades, employ archers that send volleys of arrows every other turn at like a certain area, set traps, and apply defensive enchantments. So there's a lot of different stuff that you can do within those aspects. But like once you get all of that down, the overall play is not like it's not bogged down. It doesn't feel like there's too much, but it also doesn't feel sparse either. It feels like just about the right amount to continue through the cycles and everything and feel like I'm getting somewhere without going, oh God, this takes 5 million years to get anywhere. Because that's a big problem with the tactical games for me, is that I don't have 4 hours at a time to sit through half of a battle.
Right.
I just don't. So, in a couple of hours, I got pretty far and I conquered several provinces and got through a bunch of different rounds. So, something like 10 years in the video game passed during the time that I was playing. So,
as you do.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking forward to playing more of that. And I was thinking about it yesterday and I was like, oh man, I wish I had time to do that, but I didn't. But, I wanted to play more. So, listeners may see me pop up very randomly on my Twitch. So put notifications on if you want to ever know when I'm streaming, because I don't ever know when I'm streaming until I am. So,
yeah.
So yeah. Any questions
Nice.
about Wildermyth?
No, I mean, what are the bounds of its early accessness?
I don't know what's so early access about it, except for maybe they're just adding more stuff to the game. I don't know. It doesn't feel like incomplete or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you're describing is pretty complex.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't feel like it's like that. But they must just be adding some more stuff to the later game or something like that, because what I've already been playing is pretty polished. So yeah,
nice.
So anyway, I've got one more game to talk about. And I just dropped a link in the Slack for you guys to see if you want. So I also played a game called Bury Me My Love, which that is a saying that means more or less, don't even think about dying before I do, take care, that kind of a thing. So it is a short narrative indie game that follows the story of a Syrian couple. The husband, Majid, remains in Syria with his mother and grandmother, while his wife, Nur, leaves to seek asylum in another country. And this game is on Switch, Steam, and mobile. The prologue is also available online for free, so you can go download that. I'm pretty sure that also translates to a demo on Steam and Switch, although I don't know. I just bought the game. So this game is, of course, based on true stories. There was actually a French article which translated to the journey of a Syrian migrant as told by her WhatsApp messages. And that was one of the primary, triggers for this game being made. And both that journalist and the subject, the person whose WhatsApp messages were used for that article, are editors for this game. They actually were involved in the making of this game. So that is what makes this game pretty awesome. One of the things that makes it awesome. It has branching paths and multiple endings. So, as you might imagine from the suggestion, the talking about the WhatsApp, thing in the article, it's actually told by a text message conversation between the husband and the wife, which also includes occasional selfies and so on. And the devs say that they imagine the core mechanics with WhatsApp and Lifeline in mind. So you talk to your wife, but you also help her make decisions that impact the outcome of different, dangerous or, kind of unknown scenarios that she encounters along the way. So, in that way, you're kind of acting like a lifeline. And then there are times where she's in a dangerous situation, and then the husband, who play the husband, are like Googling furiously to figure out where she is and try to tell her like where she can go and stuff like that. And so, it really does feel like a lifeline kind of situation. So the trip to Europe can take anywhere from a few days to months or even years, depending on different choices that you make. And along the way, the borders might be closed, or, Noor might hear about smugglers or different routes that you can take. And you kind of just have to help her figure out where to go and what to do. There's other variables as well that will change what happens. Noor's morale, her relationship with her husband, her budget, and the presence or the absence of certain items in her inventory. Like there's this one point where you basically have a the ability to suggest to her that she pick up one or another thing from the market before she goes on to this next area. And I told her to get one thing, and that one thing actually helped her survive a dangerous scenario that happened right after that point.
Oh, wow.
So I very luckily managed to get very far in the game, like that. But
yeah, I didn't expect it to be that mechanical based on just based on what I saw. This sounds like 80 days or something.
Yeah, it does. It actually is kind of like 80 days in that way. And that was actually a comparison I wanted to draw, because there are so many different factors. Like, you have to cultivate your relationship with your wife, and you have to, help cheer her up and keep her happy, because those things will change, her course of action. There was a point where she got mad at me for something that I said or did, or like a choice that I made that wasn't right. And then, I told her to do one thing and she did something else because she was upset at me. So it feels very convincingly like this is another person on the other end of the phone talking to me, because she just does her own thing. She doesn't necessarily just follow video game logic of doing exactly what she's told to do, So, as I was saying, my choices allowed her to survive until really close to her getting to asylum. But then a bad thing happened. And it was really, really dramatic, because there was a voice, you don't have voice messages the entire game. It's all just text and emojis and selfies every once in a while. And then suddenly there's a voice message clip for the very ending of the game. And then you got to hear her screaming and then professing her love for her husband. And then that was the end of it. And I was like, wow.
Jeez. That's a lot, actually.
That surprised the hell out of me, because I did not expect it. The rest of the game was kind of lighthearted, and to be honest, it kind of felt like after right at first it took me a while to get used to the format, because this isn't how visual novels or other narrative based text adventure games or things like that play. Mm-hmm. So at first I'm like, this is kind of irritating, because she does that thing that actually bothers me a lot when people text, where it's one word and then there's another message that has another word, and then there's I'm like, this drives me crazy. In real life it drives me nuts. So I'm going nuts, in the video game, because it's doing the same thing. But anyway, but after a while, after I got accustomed to it, then I actually kind of came around on it, and I was like, this actually does feel like a conversation between me and Dave or something like that. And, so, and again, that's because this is all based on real events, real people's messages, during that time when the refugees were, leaving and all of that. But believe it or not, as much as the ending that I got was just oh, that's not cool. A lot of stuff throughout the game is really lighthearted, because Noor, at least in my playthrough, was very, lighthearted and making jokes and, trying to keep herself afloat, and just a really positive spirit, and just, sometimes her husband's responses would be just absolute silliness. She said at one point, "Oh no, this is terrible." And then, you're like, what? Oh my God, bracing for it. Right. And then she's like, "My zipper's broken." And then he replied, and then you can reply however, but I had him reply "Agent Noor, it's okay. We've got somebody coming. We've got your coordinates." Just doing this whole number. And it was just so funny. And, they're just really touching moments like that, where you just really start to like the characters quite a bit. And they have so many great interactions throughout. So, although it's a tough subject matter, refugees leaving, a country from, all the bombings and things like that, they don't dwell on that part of it at all during the gameplay itself. And there are plenty of ways that it can end well. It's just, it is an
Right.
more open game that can end any number of ways. So, it just depends upon your choices throughout the game as to what occurs,
and how long it takes. Even it can be, at kind of like 80 days. It can take a short amount of time or an extremely long amount of time. So,
I would definitely.
It sounds like you're going to be playing it again to see an alternate, path.
That was not my true ending. That's not canon.
Okay.
So, I've got to go back and play it again.
Yeah.
I can't just leave it like that. That's not cool. So,
Mm-hmm.
But so anyway, yeah, I definitely will be playing it again. But yeah, I posted incessant amounts of screenshots on my Twitter. So, those are all back there. Just go to the media tab and look through for all the screenshots of, what looks to be a text message screen, and that would be the game. So
Yeah.
Any questions about the game?
I mean, just broadly a comment, it is awesome that that the story is being told in a game. It is also a real relief that they got people who actually lived this and to sign off on it. It sounds like that comes through, and it sounds like these are, the characters are portrayed as actual people and stuff, which is necessary, I think, especially for how our media tends to portray that situation sometimes in the, not the most compassionate light. So it's more just a general comment that the people who made that game are doing a service.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me too, because I am the daughter of an immigrant. My dad came from Havana when Castro came to power. His family came over here during Operation Bedropan. And so he was taken, his family is very large, and so they were taken in chunks. Some of the older kids came with some of the younger kids. My dad was one of the younger ones, and they got dropped in the middle of Nebraska at a Dutch convent. And they didn't speak any Dutch or English, and the nuns only spoke Dutch, and they didn't speak English or Spanish. So that was a situation. But long ago, when I was, a very young child, I actually got to meet some of the nuns who were still alive at that time, who, had my dad, had fostered my dad for a little bit, and they were like, he was a hellraiser, and I'm like, I'm sure he was, he still is. Anyway, it was just kind of great to hear these nuns tell me that my dad was a hellraiser. I'm like, yeah, that's my dad. So, but anyway, my dad, his story was nowhere near, his story was a different type of story. It wasn't a struggle to get here. It was just a struggle once getting here.
Yeah, no.
So it's interesting to me for that reason as well. So
this is a lighthearted romp that anybody who is anxious right now can disappear into.
It's actually got a lot of funny stuff. There's a part where she's just like, I found a Starbucks. and then her husband's like, that stuff is nasty, and she's like, no, you're just jealous of my gingerbread something latte or whatever. It's silly. It actually is pretty silly sometimes. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's got harrowing moments and things like that, but it has a lot of touching moments as well. So
nice.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Bury me, my love. Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to step on anybody else's comment with my flip remark.
Step all over it. It's fine.
Okay. Let's see here. David, I want to go on to you now.
Yeah. So actually, as I a little bit teased in our bantering, I've pretty much just been continuing on with the Division 2.
Okay.
So I have officially beat the expansion campaign. So that ends up with actually a pretty cool boss fight where you're fighting a rogue division agent. So he basically has access to all of the abilities and technologies and things that you do.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and they really do a good job of, building the fight around that. And then also, and it seems like, I guess I should say, it seems like this is something that's maybe a little bit polarizing, but the dialogue, in my opinion, really assists that. Depending on your perspective, you could see it either as being kind of self-aware or breaking the fourth wall, but his dialogue is very much I guess cognizant of what tactics you'll be using to counter the things he's doing, and what tactics he's using, that sort of thing.
I mean,
so
it'd be weirder if he didn't take that stuff into account.
Exactly. So my feeling is I think it fits with the character and actually adds to it. And, I think he's the characterization up to that point is sort of the kind of, I believe in, survival of the fittest, I'm going to randomly quote Nietzsche, that type of thing. And with that tends to alternate depending on, the degree to which he believes someone, deserves to survive, between being like total psychopath or, kind of superficially glib, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And so this is very much in the superficially glib part of the character. I think my favorite is, obviously you're doing a cover shooter, and he's also programmed to very actively take advantage of the cover system. So he'll call out, "All right, I'm reloading. Your turn now." Think just stuff like that. So it's actually a really, really fun fight. And then after that, you get to the end game, which is sort of interesting because they've released their first season. So they're kind of doing, that mode that's become popular. And it's basically another manhunt that takes the same format as the expansion overall. You have a series of 4 lieutenants that you have to work through in order to eventually take on the big bad. The interesting thing, though, is that, at least the, intro to it and stuff like that, has a cutscene, has voice acting, that sort of thing. All of the lieutenants and have, written backstories on, like, how they got to be in the division, why they went rogue, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're kind of trying to put in some effort to, have this not just be, I don't know, some sort of super cynical, like, hey, pay us money and, grind a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's been fun overall. The one thing, and I don't know, there's been a lot of articles on the gaming press, at least for the people that have been writing about the division about this. The game does currently have some balance issues.
Okay.
One of the big things with the expansion was trying to kind of set back the power creep that the game had gotten, which overall I think that's been well received. People have been pretty upfront that that was probably needed, but the difficulty is that's resulted in particular in the enemies being extremely bullet spongy. And there's a number of instances where, just on top of that often not being the most fun way to play, it also has broken a lot of things. So for example, probably my favorite weapon is a double-barreled shotgun.
Okay.
That's the, highest single shot damage you can get in the game is that class of weapons. And the problem though is with that, basically the weapon doesn't work if it can't kill most enemies in 2 shots.
Okay.
And so now with the the balance changes, it very often can't. And so it's one of those things where on paper, if you just tracked DPS, it's probably a very viable weapon. But the nature of how you would need to use it, it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a number of things with that. On the plus side, though, they've done a lot of work on balancing the skills. So, your skills are basically the access to advanced tech that you have. If you haven't played The Division, would probably be most similar to like the some of the gadgets you have in Splinter Cell, where they're just kind of borderline super tech. Or I guess another example would be the special agent abilities in whatever the Rainbow Six series that's going on now. I forget what they call that.
Yeah, Siege. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've made a lot more of those viable. You can very much go with drones. You can go with kind of these auto, like radio controlled mines. There's actually a really fun ability that is basically you can send out sort of a suicide drone.
Okay.
And it's overall not that effective from a damage standpoint compared to a lot of the other choices, but a whole bunch of the enemies in the game have weak points that if you hit them enough, they will change the way the enemy behaves. So that could be like breaking a enemy's riot shield, or maybe there's a heavy chain gunner that you can destroy his ammo pack, so he has to change to a backup weapon, or setting off the explosives that someone's carrying, those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And this basic weapon isn't that great for damage, but it automatically activates those weak points basically.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun stuff going on, but also a lot of often very, very frustrating balance things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of the state of the game. I'm just slowly grinding up my gear.
So, I mean, I get this is a really basic question, but I mean, just based on your kind of descriptions of this, it sounds like there's not really an awful lot of kind of like a multiplayer component to this, or at least not one that you're kind of engaging in. Like, are you doing like squad missions with people, or is this just straight up a solo affair for you?
Sure. So it's definitely built around co-op play. I tend to do solo the first time around. And also there's in order to unlock new classes, you have to complete a series of challenges, and a number of them are basically defeat this boss after triggering his weak point. And so then it's often better to do that solo so that you can be sure that you don't kill the boss before that happens.
Yeah.
So basically right now I'm kind of at a stage where I'm mostly playing solo, but overall I'd say the game is better with multiple people.
Gotcha.
The ability to revive someone can make a lot of fights a little smoother, because it's not, if you take a bad hit, you have to restart.
Okay.
It also can be just kind of fun in certain situations. With a team of 4 people, you can often put just a massive amount of bullets downrange, so they'll sometimes be instances where, say, you're like fighting through a narrow hallway and the balance very much is in your team's favor. And, you know, it would be boring if the entire mission was that, but it's kind of fun to, you know, all of a sudden have a moment where you're just shredding anything that, you know, comes in a side hallway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, definitely.
And is that all you've been playing?
Yeah, that's all I've been playing. So open to suggestions, because with the coronavirus, I will definitely be having more time to game.
Have you beat Slay the Spire with all the characters?
I never got into Slay the Spire.
What? All right.
I for me, like, Slay the Spire, I got into it, and I didn't have that much of an urge to play. I did have a very strong urge to try to write a computer program to play for me. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Cool. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, I got two. So the first one I played at my friend's house over the weekend. I played Ring Fit, the game that's taken the nation by storm.
Yeah, the game that is completely sold out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was cool. It's you got a ring and you got a strap around your thigh and you just jog in place and do stretches. But it's actually fun. It's I think it's kind of like Pokemon is a way to think of it, but instead of like choosing what attack you're doing, you're like doing squats or something, or you're doing stretches of some kind. I could only do like maybe 2 or 3 of them at the beginning before I was like, I need to take a break and get some water or something like that. But it made me like look up the game immediately afterwards and then see that they were completely sold out. And
Yeah.
so
I'm looking at it right now. A new copy on, so a brand new sealed copy on Amazon is $280.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen for a while. It's 70. It's supposed to be $70.
Corona panic buying this, or
I don't know.
I
Are
don't
we
know
going
if
to see a meme of somebody stockpiling Ring Fits and then selling them at a high price?
I wasn't so much meaning that as I was wondering if this was people being like, oh, I want something to like do and keep active while I'm going to be stuck at my home.
That's exactly what it is. You're stepping on the toes of my dang in-bus.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. It's the most recent video game fitness product to come out. You know, that's not like a smartphone app or something. Lots of people have Switches. They probably, in all honesty, they probably didn't make that many of them, you know, as a game tied to a particular plastic, know.
Yeah. Better to be conservative with it.
Yeah. And maybe they'll put more out. And those, you know, anybody who is trying to price gouge or do arbitrage might end up getting fucked. Hopefully, you know. But
so the basic mechanics of it is you have a ring, you put one controller on that, the one with the IR sensor, and then you put the other controller on a strap to your thigh. And so what you get out of it is like the ring is basically like any sort of resistance type exercise. Like you can push it in or pull it for like strength training. And then the thigh they just do for measuring whether or not you're basically squatting or not, or jogging or things like that, or stretching at certain points.
Yeah, it's real similar. EA Fit on the Wii or something like that worked in a really similar way.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then some cool things with it too is like with the IR sensor, you can put your thumb on it and it'll measure your heartbeat after you do an exercise. So there's like an overworld. It kind of looks like Mario where you go from stage to stage. The stage that you do is basically like an exercise routine. So you're jogging in place. That you calibrate at the beginning. So you say what like a normal pace is for you and what a fast pace is. And so they kind of reward you for it based on in game. So if you try and jog at a faster pace, you gain more experience or something like that. And the same thing with workouts. It's kind of like a 2-tiered system. Like when you're doing squats, if you do a slight stretch, you get a certain amount of points. But then if you do like a really good stretch or like a firm squat or something like that, then your head is on fire. It's kind of like the Nicolas Cage superhero. What is it? Ghost World or whatever. Ghost Rider.
Ghost World's a very different thing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not overly complicated or anything like that. When you fight monsters, you just do different stretches. And it's like you basically just do an exercise routine.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the cool thing about it is that it's giving you feedback for what you're doing exercise wise, and that's what makes it fun. Again, I've only played like maybe half an hour of this, so it's not like I know all the ins and outs. There's like a main bad guy they introduce you to at the beginning of the game that you're trying to go towards. But yeah, I mean, I think oh, go ahead.
You're telling me that you are encountering a monster and you have to stretch. I will stretch at it vigorously.
They hate stretches. And,
boy, that's pretty great.
I mean,
okay.
that's well established. Demons hate fitness.
Except for the main bad guy. He's like Schwarzenegger, like buff dude with like.
You mean the character that should have been the next Super Smash Bros. Character?
Maybe, yeah.
As opposed to another Fire Emblem, yeah.
Yeah, another fire. Okay, anyway.
And so they have like a weird like animation to try and explain why like squatting hurts the monster. They'll have this like ghostly fist or ghostly foot, and like as you like squat down, for example, the foot might like rev back, and then when you stand up, it'll kick the person. You know, it's just like. Doesn't really make sense, but they don't explain those like ghostly powers or anything that you have. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know how long I would play it before possibly getting tired of it. But it is a really good way to do exercise and inside. Yeah, and it kind of disguises it. It's like putting sugar on a carrot or something when you eat it.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's something normal people do.
Yeah,
I guess.
I don't know. It's yeah. I don't know how.
I don't know. You're from the
sugar on
Midwest. You might put sugar on carrots. I don't know.
Carrots are already pretty sweet. Like
I know you don't need any sugar on that.
It's like peanut butter on the celery.
Right.
This is totally unrelated, and I'm sorry I have to interject this. A smart ad is now recommending Daddy's Home 2 because I talked about Dream Daddy and it was listening to me.
So, man. Ugh.
I don't even know what that is, but now it's upsetting me. And I'm gonna...
It's a movie that has Mel Gibson starring in a comedic role. Like, we will just forget.
Yeah. So... Well, anyway, sorry. Continue on with Ring Fit or whatever you were going to talk about next.
I'm pretty done with Ring Fit unless there's any.
You're pretty done. Okay.
No, I don't. It sounds cool. Like if it was $70, I might actually try it. But everybody else has that idea, so
it is supposed to be $70. So
yeah,
seems fair. And it's also nice too that the peripherals are like pretty small and not like overdone, a giant guitar or something like that. So it doesn't feel too wasteful. That's not a shot at you, Kole, or anything. But
no, I bought those 11 years ago or 13 years ago. Fuck. I still play them occasionally. It's fine.
So it seems like pretty elegant with the amount of work you get based on like the size of the peripheral that you have. So that part seems nice. But yeah, I have two other things to talk about. So the one tiny thing, I continued playing Luigi's Mansion. I played one or two more floors of that. And I showed that game to two friends I hung out with over the weekend. And that kind of like made me like the game more again, like introducing it to someone else. We kind of like did couch co-op on some of the puzzles.
Yeah.
And so someone would go into a room, they might get stuck, and then you'd be like, hey, well, have you tried this? Maybe this might work. And, so that was kind of fun. So I might go back and play that some more. I think I'm only like a third of the way through that game, so there's still like a lot more. But the last game I want to talk about is the bigger one that I've been playing. I got Death Stranding last week and started playing.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Cool.
We haven't talked about this one yet, right?
No, we haven't.
All right. So it seems fitting because you're in a apocalyptic world where nobody goes outside. And it's like you're just running packages back and forth. It's the so for people who don't know, it's the Hideo Kojima game. It's the first post Konami game that he's made. So I'll to describe the game, I'll tell you my interactions with it so far. I've played it for like maybe 3 or 4 hours. Okay. I've done 2 or 3 missions, all of which were walking back and forth from a place and carrying packages or other things. And that maybe took an hour to 2 hours of it. The rest of the time, the majority of the time, has been watching cutscenes.
Yeah.
It's been good. I've enjoyed it, but that's what the game experience has been like. So it's very much a Hideo Kojima game.
Yeah.
There's already like a lot of kind of like maybe puns, for lack of a better word, or play on words with things, especially the themes of like strands and like defining that and like the connections and stuff like that. Like the president in the game is named Bridges, but then like the first character you meet in the game is called Bridget, and the game is trying to be about like connecting areas. So it's like a whole bunch of things that kind of like reference one another thematically.
Extremely on the nose.
Yeah. And there's other fun things. I think this one's been pretty well covered, but in case people haven't heard about it, there's a product placement for Monster Energy in the game. But that's a play on word because there's also monsters made of energy in the game. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a lot of that. So if you like that type of stuff, this seems to be chock full with it so far. Yeah, and the thing I haven't really figured out is there's like a weird system where other people can leave things in your game world for you, and specifically like bridges or things that help traversal be easier for you. So for example, like people had left ladders on the map and you can you can thumbs up them or not. And I guess like that's like their way of doing something similar like Dark Souls, like hint system or whatever.
A little bit, yeah.
But just making the game a little bit easier for one another, which is kind of interesting game mechanic. Yeah, I don't know. I like that game a whole lot. It's a really pretty game. It looks beautiful. It's weird. It's a weird game. The mechanics are balancing and carrying stuff. And it's interesting. I think like from like kind of like a stepping back and thinking of it at a bigger scale, if this is like the first game he's making at his game studio, it's good that he's just focusing on like movement mechanics and getting that really like honed down.
And also releasing it as a commercial product.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, might as well solve that problem, and then you can go on and once you have that problem solved. So that kind of makes sense if that's what they were thinking about. But yeah, it's a super goofy game. That's what I'm probably going to go play tonight after we're done recording. So
nice.
Yeah.
The comparison that I saw when everything shut down was like it's kind of the story heavy answer or response to Breath of the Wild. Insofar as it is about like how do you traverse this particular terrain, kind of more so than anything else from a play perspective. Yeah, and they have a mechanic where you can like scan the terrain around you, and it basically color codes how easy it is to traverse. So it's like red, you can't do it; yellow, maybe, and then blue is like all good. That is actually incredibly good because oftentimes in those kinds of games, I will find myself like, Skyrim, exactly. Like I'll just huff it up that particular thing, and nope, and then I just find myself, basically hitting an invisible wall. Yeah. So that is actually a very good idea that they added that. Yeah, and it's similar to like Breath of the Wild. That's a good comparison for it. It seems like you can go pretty much anywhere you want. There's a few places where they put specific walls and they'll have like just like a hologram animation or something like that. Yeah. But other than that, it seems pretty open. Like literally the game mechanic is you plotting your route of how you want to get to the place that you're going to, you know? So like you can just look at a top-down terrain map and say like, oh, it looks like there's a path here, so I might try doing this. You can like drop markers and stuff and kind of plot out your route before you run there. Yeah. Weird game and weird game mechanics. Yeah. But I'm into it so far, so yeah. Nice. Yeah. Cool. I don't have any more questions. Jala, David?
No.
That's all I got. Yeah.
For me, I've just got one. This past weekend, I started streaming The Evil Within 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This game owns.
Yeah.
This is really good. And
somebody streamed this for one of the charity events we did. I can't remember.
Allison did, I think the year that the demo came out or something like that. Okay. She did that for her like 2-hour shift. Okay. And yeah, that was actually a really popular hour. Like, because I think that at the time it was a really weird game that not a lot of people knew what to make of, because it's incredibly
it's still
different.
A really weird game.
Yes, but also like even now today, like, wow, it is super strange. Like, not just in the subject matter, like, yeah, you're living in a nightmare that is powered by science tubs and a soul of a small child is at the center of it. Like, yeah, that's like take it as read that the subject matter is fucking nuts. But like, just like getting a beat on the kind of game that it is, like the idea, at least here early on, that you are in this open roaming small town setting, and you're following these radio signals to like go into individual houses that have their own, sometimes like whole encounters associated with them, and that like you are assembling enough materials in order to get your weapons and stuff upgraded by kind of doing this this kind of exploration that is not really done in horror games very much, leaning on the stealth mechanic that is a million times improved over, the Evil Within 1. Like, the Evil Within 1, I was incredibly frustrated with because it was senselessly difficult. Right?
Sensefully difficult?
I mean, it's tough, but I think that the biggest difference for me is the fact that there is no instant death, really. Like, enemies coming after you and hitting you, like, it matters, right? And your ammo is very limited, but like, you're not like stepping onto instant death traps, and there are enemies who, if they spot you when you are doing the not very good stealth sections, from the first game, they're not enemies that will kill you in one hit, or bosses that kill you in one hit, etc. down the line. It's just like much better balanced, just kind of more pleasant to interact with, and like the open kind of concept here again early on, and I know it straightens out later when you leave the town, but like the ambition of that kind of approach to like have so much optional content that's like hidden away in these houses off of the main kind of mission waypoint structure kind of thing, it's like super admirable, I think.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed when playing it too, is that I hadn't seen another game like that, and the best is like kind of like a fun house, where it's like all these different areas that you can go, and there's this like bespoke story there, bespoke like set piece in each of the houses, possibly.
And like there was stuff like there was a place I could have gone, so like the world that you're in is fractured again because it's this weird dream world, and to get between places you have to go into kind of this basically like the behind the scenes portions of Westworld or whatever. Basically it's like the steam tunnels, but it's this like subconscious area called the marrow, and like the marrow, like bone marrow, is only introduced at a certain part in the game. Like, you can get into the marrow a lot earlier than the game actually introduces it to you. And like there are enemies that are a couple of notches tougher than you expect, and there are like there's a boss that I encountered in a really cool scene. Ben, when you played it, did you end up getting into the encounter with the woman in the dress made of rags who was like floating around?
I don't know if I remember that one.
Yeah,
so
like whenever she's around, the temperature drops around you, and like you're pulled into this kind of like fog world, and you have to avoid her stuff. She's entirely optional. Like, and people in the chat who were really helpful because it's also a pretty complex game. People in the chat were saying like, yeah, like this is a super cool thing that actually gets you fun bespoke content that is off in a corner of this map, and not everybody's going to get it. I really appreciate the confidence in saying like, yep, if they don't see it, or if they don't get there, it's on them. Yeah.
So what, this is a little bit off topic, but I'm just kind of curious, how do you make a survival horror character or enemy difficult? Because it seems like, from what I've seen, survival horror enemies tend to fall into two camps, either like immortal killing machines or like, gun fodder.
So like the basic enemy in this, I don't know what they're called. I haven't seen like a name for them, but they're people who, and it's like Resident Evil 4. Like they are infected by something. They've got like this kind of progressive brainworm thing going on. And they've basically turned feral. Okay. Which means, like that they go into these like fits of rage and stuff like that. And they're kind of constantly on patrol, or, they're looking for people or food to eat. Or they're like pounding on doors and things. It's, relatively easy to sneak around them, but when they see you, they will run up and they will do melee attacks on you. They take several shots to kill. And if like you headshot one of them, like in RE4, the worms may pop out, and then, you've got something else to do, so you have options to like stun them and then do a kill attack, things like that in order to preserve your resources. But the thing is, like when you aggro one of them, it will make a loud noise and summon a bunch more. So all of a sudden you're dealing with a crowd, with a crowd of these things. Is there an element of their difficulty that I didn't bring in, Ben?
No, I thought Resident Evil 4 was an apt comparison. They're just kind of like, they do more damage than the Resident Evil 4 zombies do, and there's fewer of them. So it's like the stakes are higher, each one.
Yeah.
And then would that be pretty comparable for like a boss?
What do you mean?
So like, well, because you mentioned that that like some of the boss enemies that you'd see in the mirror were more difficult or something.
Yeah. So like the one that I saw was like an upgraded version of the regular townsperson. It was like an older, it was like an older kind of character who carries around like a large pair of scissors, not like, Clock Tower Scissor Man large or World of Horror large, but like, big scissors. And the thing is, like you can do stealth kills, like you can sneak up behind something that's unaware of you and, stab in the back of the head or whatever. These are faster. They're more persistent. And if you do a stealth kill on one of them, it actually can survive it. It takes 2 stealth kills. So you have to like either, use that as an opening gambit and then quickly do enough damage after that. Or, find a way to get to stealth again and then go after it and attack it again. So yeah, and there are whole like enemies that have like weapons and stuff that I haven't encountered yet. Things like that. So it's going to escalate. Like I'm still, I played this game for like 4 hours. I'm still in the first half or so of the game.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a longer game. I can't remember how many hours, but
How Long to Beat puts it at like 12 hours or something. So that would make it like a 3 weekend thing for me, but. That's not how time works. I'll work it out. Yeah. So, no, but it's really good. I am super impressed with it. Anybody who was around watching my streams back when I did the Evil Within 1, Jala, will know just how many times my soul left my body when I was playing that. But this is actually super refreshing. And it helps that like they moved it to a different team with a different lead designer, and yeah, I'm super into it. It's very good.
I've only seen parts of it when you were streaming it, like the Evil Within 2, just because like I'd pop in and then something gross would happen, and then I'd be like playing Bury Me My Love, and I was like really into that, so I just kind of like wandered off. I was like, okay, well, I saw it. All right. I said hi.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Siri tells me that I have to go see your stream every Friday and Saturday night. By the way, it's even like when you're not streaming, it's telling me to go to your stream. It's like, no, Siri.
He's not doing it this time. Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I am having a good time with it. Any other questions about Evil Within 2?
No.
All right.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Jala, what is the question that you ask the nice people?
I asked for everybody to describe their life as a new game in their favorite genre. It could be action, CRPG, fighting game, puzzle, whatever. So,
Yeah, and I will get us started here with Greg, who says, wake up, go to work, stay in an office for 8 hours, go home, try to relax, go to bed, rinse, repeat. This would be the most boring virtual novel or dating sim game ever made.
well, there are some that are like office place romance ones. I've totally played one, so that's actually like seriously a thing. So
yeah,
hit on a coworker, Greg.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay.
Oh man, Ben, what does Mike say?
Mike says, about 6 months ago, I separated from my wife after 17. Sorry to hear that. Life is better now. Good to hear that. And my kids and I are thriving again. In the Soulsborne game of life, though, I'm standing in front of Rosaria thinking about how I'm going to respect. Love you all, and I hope you and your families are safe and well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. To provide context for that, in Dark Souls 3, the character that lets you reroll your stats is Rosaria, and she's tied to a particular faction. She's also like a crazy monster lady, but
who isn't? I mean,
well, in Souls,
saying.
everybody. Yeah. Very good. David, what does Dan say?
Dan says, mine's like a management sim. With 3 kids, a paramedic wife who works shifts and long hours myself, it's managing food, water, exercise, attention, etc. in order to maintain a level of happiness and order. Think Frostpunk without the child labor. Yet.
Oh, man. Eventually you teach the kids to raise each other. Yeah.
Do your kids throw rocks, Dan? Do you allow that, or do you prohibit that?
Wait, is that
this is
a
very
thing?
important, Dan.
Yeah.
In Frostpunk, yeah.
Huh, I missed that.
But also props to your paramedic wife who works all those shift things, and for you for supporting your paramedic wife who works that, because right now that's really important stuff. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's always real important stuff, but especially during current situations.
When the system is put under stress, it is the frontline workers who we have to rely on.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see, Jala, what does Casey say?
Casey says, CRPG life. I just exited the training zone after 27 levels and my first dungeon raid. I respec'd a few times until I ended up in a hidden class, government worker, and now I'm leveling up my pension skill and investing my bonus skill points and wiping out my student debt negative quirk that I took early on.
Student debt is a negative quirk. Yeah, it's not a negative quirk. Student debt is just Tom Nook rolling in and saying, "Guess what?" Very good. And a final one here. This is a quick multiplayer, but it's also fun. Chris writes, CRPG, beating the introduction, then make it about 8 levels into the main quest before you restart from a magician to an alchemist. The bosses are tougher, but everyone likes how your potions make them braver.
He's a bartender?
Yeah, like a brewer, distiller, bartender, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
sounds like
I do kind of like the image of a fantasy world where the love potions don't mind control people. They just allow you to get drunk and talk to women.
I mean, that's basically any patent medicine.
Right.
It was just moonshine, laudanum, and ether. So very good. For me, it's the portions of Silent Hill 4, the room, where you're just in the room, like no actual dungeons or anything. And instead of getting threatening letters from Walter slid under the door, it's just bad iTunes reviews.
It's pretty good.
Ben, how about you?
So I would say like half walking sim, half office sim. It's mostly boring, I would say. I don't know. It's like the first VR game.
Well, it's supposed to be in your favorite genre. You have to make it work with your favorite. I have never heard you really talk about
I see. Sorry. I quickly read the question. I thought it was accurate to what your life would be. My favorite genre is going to be a puzzle game, so I guess I would describe it as I go to work and try and figure out a bunch of puzzles and try not to faint by the end of it.
It's like a combination, Zachtronics game mixed with Life Sim.
Yeah, and sometimes like Stardew Valley, because you just black out and wake up the next morning and you're like, how did I get too difficult of puzzles.
Just only have just a bunch of different options. How did I get here? My God, what have I done? Oh, David, how about you?
Man, that's tough. I mean, right now, I definitely feel like I'm in some sort of, early stage, zombie survival thing. But I don't know. Normally, I mean, my only outside of programming hobby is martial arts. So maybe I feel like I would be like, there's always that character in a fighting game that's kind of the B tier character that is the only guy that actually has a life outside of being a ninja or whatever.
Yeah.
I would be the Ken to the game's Ryu. I don't matter to the story, but I actually do something with my life.
How about you, Jala?
I would say that my life is a character-driven, branching path visual novel that has dramatic plot twists, deep character interactions, and management sim elements, resources like money and time being the trickiest damn things.
Does it have like a side mini game where it's like a rucking exercise that you have to do?
There's like survival elements somehow worked into it. Yeah. So.
Very good.
I feel like you just described Shenmue.
I would not know. I've never played Shenmue.
Yeah, Shenmue has more like bar fights than you've been known to get into.
Oh, see,
you know of.
Yeah.
I mean, known to get into is yes. I choose my words carefully.
See, I've always heard it described as like the climax of the game is like an extended hiking trip.
That is Shenmue 2. There is a 2-hour real-time hiking trip.
Somebody suggested that Death Stranding is basically like American Ruck Simulator. And that was a joke that I do not know who said it, but that was a joke that was said in a channel in the Slack. It was shared. Yeah, it was shared to me, and somebody said, "Don't tell Jala," but somebody did.
Good.
So, yeah,
that is a varsity tier pun. I like that quite a bit.
Yes. So.
Very good. So if you want to participate in the multiplayer going forward, thank you to everybody who has participated today. You can go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast. And thank you, Jala, for putting up the question.
Yeah.
The end boss.
Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about the things we have been. Oh wait, no. Oh boy. Oh. I'll leave that in. Where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games that are exciting to us. I'm sorry that we scooped you, Jala. I didn't realize we were doing that.
Well, the only other thing I'll say about the whole Ring Fit is selling out. It's not just selling out in the U.S. It's selling out worldwide. Mm-hmm. Resale prices have over doubled, probably tripled by this point in Japan and China and Hong Kong. So,
wow.
It's as expensive as it is here. It's getting more expensive in other places. So, yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, at least people are putting a premium on their physical well-being while they are stuck inside. Yeah, and I know people who work in sporting goods stores and stuff, and they are selling online sales of dumbbells and weight benches and everybody's building a home gym now because they're suddenly hey, fitness. And I was I would love for people to become addicted to taking care of themselves and doing a thing for their wellness. But I just kind of think that if you hold out later on this year, you're going to see that stuff on sale. Real Facebook
cheap.
Marketplace.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So like that's a thing for anybody looking to build a home gym. You might be in luck like a few months from now. So
Well, no, I mean everyone's prepping for the apocalypse. Those machetes with bits of spikes welded to them get heavy.
they sure do. Like, have you ever done steel mace training? I've got a steel mace, and boy, those are fun.
I haven't.
I was talking to David, but I mean, like,
Oh,
I guess I could be talking to
Yes,
you too.
I
if you
have.
want to. Yeah, I figured he would have. So,
Oh man, Ben, what's new with Rocksteady?
This is a sad one, right? Because Rocksteady hasn't announced anything in, like, what, years or so? So in sad news, E3 was canceled this past week, and people have said now that Rocksteady was apparently going to debut what their new game was at E3. I believe this to be true, but it's also very sad.
There have been several what feels like false alarms about Rocksteady coming forward to announce something. Mm-hmm. So it might not be true, and therefore you don't have to be sad anymore. I'm just trying to find the bright side.
I'm fine with erring on the side of hope. I mean, the good news is they're probably going to announce it still at some point somewhere.
Yeah.
Sometime soon.
I thought
all
that
of these
The Last
games.
Guardian taught us never to hope.
It's different this time. Krusty's coming, guys.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I like all of these announcements that are being postponed. Like, they have to be made sometime. Like, they've got to show these games to people.
And it's somewhat different because, like, I know with movies that have been delayed, they were supposed to come out now, but at least with games, they're probably coming out like next year anyway. So you can just delay the announcement for it and not impact the game release date. So
Yeah.
I've
got one. This is not a game that is in development, but in redevelopment. The studio Nightdive, that is previously specialized in doing re-releases of games that were previously hard to get a hold of, they have announced that they are going to be making like a modern restoration, in quotes, of the 1997 Westwood point-and-click adventure game of Blade Runner. This game is really, really good. And was hard to get a hold of until like pretty recently, actually. The original is on GOG for $10, like you can get a hold of it. But yeah, this remake with updated visuals and things like that is going to be coming out sometime later on in 2020. It's like a detective game where you're looking for a replicant, and though it is an adventure game, kind of as a standard point and click thing, it is not strictly linear. Who the replicant is changes depending on, like how you start the game. So it's, obviously there are only a few different ways it can pan out, but you can't just kind of follow a guide for it. It's kind of more systemic than most point and click adventure games. So it's really cool to see this back in the news because Blade Runner is dope. Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, I know that series, but I cannot figure out what I've played of them because I don't do that much retro gaming.
Blade Runner?
No, Nightdive.
Oh yeah, though they did an update of Turok, of System Shock 2. They're doing like a more just like an overhaul. They're a studio that has been active for a good long while, doing these kinds of like restorations and updates. Basically, they port old games to modern machines.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see. And David, what did you have?
I slacked off this time. I did not have anything.
How do y'all feel about buttoning it up?
I feel buttons.
The credit.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of The Level. We really appreciate you taking the time. I hope that you are all safe. I hope that you are all taking care of yourselves mentally and physically. Jala, you had something kind of in line with that?
Yes, I do. In addition to all those other resources that I can provide directly, also a couple of yoga studios here in Houston are offering free yoga classes on the internet at this time. So you guys can go to Instagram if you are an Instagram person, Black Swan Yoga Houston. All of that is all together at Black Swan Yoga Houston, is having live classes 5 times a day. In the morning and mid-afternoon, and then also in the evening for free. They also have from another studio, Yoga Works. You can go to myyogaworks.com if you do not prefer to go to Instagram. And the promo code online, all in caps, will give you free online yoga classes until, further notice at whenever they decide to reinstate everything and get back to regular life. So those are a couple of references for some yoga to help you relax and de-stress, which everybody needs right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all the stuff you can do for this show and for the network broadly. What I will say, like in terms of things that are new, I alluded to it earlier, but Gary and I have started doing the Dark Souls randomizer run. Basically, it's dueling Let's Plays, where on alternating days we upload an hour of our randomized Dark Souls play. It's good fun. We're going to do like a full episode on the Dark Souls randomizer and like what that is kind of done for our appreciation of the game. So I recommend that is a thing that is available for patrons.
Are you doing the same game run in like subsequent hours, or do you start fresh with each hour?
So we're beating the game randomized.
Okay, right.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway. Thank you so much, everybody. Like I said, I have been Kole Ross. You can watch my streams on Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
I am still David Mysmith, and unfortunately, you can't see me because I am under quarantine.
I am Jala-chan in all the places, including quarantine.
I am Ben Merkel at quarantine.
And stick around for some titles.
Slander. I have no titles.
I have no titles either.
Oh, shit.
I got one title.
Oh, okay.
God. This such power. Now I should just ad-lib a title. What do you, Money Smith, do you have titles?
I have 2 titles.
Oh, right. Good. Okay.
My title is Podcasting. Podcasting never changes.
That's pretty good. I had Tom Nook rolling in and American Ruck Simulator.
For a game that we weren't even talking about at all during the entire podcast.
No, I mean, Ben talked about it.
Yeah, I guess, but like...
I like American Ruck Simulator.
Well, I wish I knew who said it so we can give them credit.
You're right.
Okay, hold on a minute.
That's my only concern with it.
Hold on a minute. Let me see if Slack has eaten the message, and if not, then I will tell you which person had said the thing.
Okay, if we can find that, it'll be that. Otherwise, podcasting never changes.
Okay, let me see. Hold on. Phil sent it to me, but that channel has since been eaten. I do not know anymore.
Gotcha.
Phil sent it to me saying an exchange you missed in another channel. And I do not know what that exchange was. I can type it to Phil and ask him real quick, but it'll take time. So
yeah, no, that's fine. Well, let's go with podcasting never changes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, hey, this is future Kole. Phil got back to us and confirmed that yes, indeed, he was the person who said American Ruck Simulator. So we are defaulting back and using that as the title now that we can properly attribute it. Thank you, Phil.